Hey guys, Joe Colella here. Just want to talk about contingencies in real estate. So you'll hear the word get thrown around a lot on the seller side and the buyer side. Mainly contingencies are going to be put in place for the buyer to give them an opportunity to back out. There's going to be three main contingencies that you're going to work with your lawyer to have in place to ensure the safety of the sale. And that's going to be the mortgage, the appraisal, and the home inspection. So usually you're going to come across the home inspection one first. So the home inspector is going to go out to make sure there's nothing wrong with the property, and if there is, you're able to back out and you're able to get your earnest money deposit. So when you go to buy a property, you're going to put money down, and these contingencies just ensure that you're able to back out of the deal. Now, when you're on the seller side, you want to eliminate as many contingencies as possible, because usually in a real estate transaction, the buyer always has control of the deal, especially if there's one agent on the buyer side and on the seller side. When you have a lot of contingencies in place, you run the risk of losing control of the deal. So usually when I work on the seller side with listings, I want to start removing contingencies as I get more offers. That's why it's important to get as many offers as possible to make a competitive bidding environment. Now when you're on the buyer side, you want to make sure you have as many contingencies as in place that the seller allows you to do. So you want to have the mortgage contingency if they're getting a mortgage. You want to have an appraisal contingency for if they're getting a FHA loan. You want to make sure they have an inspection contingency. Now, all these are going to be in place to ensure that the sale goes through appropriately and the seller can back out buyer can back out at any time. Now, on the investment side, usually you want to remove the contingencies. They're usually going to be removed up front. But a regular first-time home buyer, you want to make sure everything's in line with what they want and it makes sense financially as well as long-term. So those are some things to keep in mind about contingencies. You're going to hear the word once you're ready to put an offer in. I'm sure the lawyer is going to go back and forth and mention to you what a contingency is, why you need to have these in place. Usually you want to be educated on it. So if you hear the word in a real estate transaction, it's for you to be protected on the buyer's side, so you don't lose your earnest money deposit. On the seller's side, it's really more for the buyer. So you want to remove the contingencies as much as possible, and you want to make sure you have an agent that understands this concept, and it's very important because you can run 2-3 months and have contingencies in place, and something comes up in the inspection report and the deal's blown up. So that's the seller's agent's job to make sure everything's on track, all the contingencies that are in place, to make sure to try and remove as many as possible. So that's one tip to look out for. Make sure your agent is familiar with contingencies and how to remove them if possible, if and when possible, to control the deal, because you want to have full control of the deal. That's the most important thing in real estate.